some of the reasons. The second thing that I want to clarify is where does GNMI compare to OpenFlow? And there are two different things. OpenFlow focuses on the forwarding plane and forwarding packets, and GNMI focuses on the platform, on configuring the platform and monitoring the platform, or even configuring the OpenFlow method that we need to configure to get OpenFlow working. So with that out of the way, if we would have to decompose GNMI, we would visit apart in three pieces, three components. One is the gRPC, which is the transport, which is a high-performance RPC framework. The second one is the service definition of the GNMI. So basically the actions, in this case the get, the set, the subscribe, and capabilities. And the three piece is where we apply those actions to. So the properties, which is typically a tree structured data. In our case, it's OpenConfig, which alters Young data models. So what is gRPC? gRPC is a client-to-server protocol. It uses HTTP version 2. It uses whatever port you want it to use, and it has some good things that we want, some good properties that we like authentication, encryption, complex compression, multiplexity, and bidirectional. So as in RPC, remote procedure call, client calls procedures on the server, and it passes data back and forth, and to pass this data, it uses protocol buffers to serialize this specific data. Think of protocol buffers like XML, but way simpler, way faster, way more efficient. So, okay, we have gRPC, but how do we define a service in gRPC? So in gRPC, we use a service definition also inside the protocol buffer. This is a very good example of a service definition. So we have a service, which is called iter, and it has two RPCs. The first RPC is hello, it gets some parameters, returns some parameters back. The second RPC is called forever hello, and it has some particularities with it because it has that string in the parameters that it passes and returns. Basically what it does is whenever you call forever hello, you're actually establishing a channel between the client and the target, or actually the server. So we have a session, and then in that session you can have multiple channels, and you do this with this thing keyword. Sorry. So if you're thinking about streaming telemetry, this is the building block. One other good thing about having protocol buffers is that you can have your service definition like this. So this is a snippet of the protocol buffer, and then you can convert or actually generate code in any of those languages that are there in the corner. So pick your favorite language, and you can have your server in one language and your client in another language. So we know what gRPC does, it's the transport. We know how gRPC defines the service. How is GNMI service defined? So the GNMI service is defined with four RPCs. Capabilities RPC, the get RPC, the set RPC, and the subscribe RPC. And that subscribe there is, as you might have figured out because of the string keyword, the one that could be used for telemetry. In the GNMI world, the server is also named the target. The target always authenticates the client always authenticates the target, and the session is always encrypted. Other names for client is user, collector, or other names for target is switch and server. So we have the transport, which is gRPC. We have the service definition, which is GNMI. Now we need to have the properties or the values we're going to apply these operations to. And for that, we use Young. Young is the data modeling language. OpenConfig uses this data modeling language with some altering guidelines, and it puts it out there in a specific structure. So on the right side, you can see a snippet of a Young model for two specific properties in the OpenFlow protocol agent. The backoff interval, which is it gives you a type, the units, and description, and the inactivity probe. So this would be inside the Young model. That was the Young model. This is a little bit more how you see this data in an OpenConfig data structure. So let's say, for example, that we want here get this value from your target backoff interval. This value lives under state, which lives under agent, which lives under OpenFlow, which lives under system. So you can basically use this reference implementation of GNMI, which is in GitHub, and say, I want to get an X part of the system, OpenFlow agent, state, backoff interval. So system, OpenFlow agent, state, backoff interval. You can, on the same get, make multiple requests, multiple paths. One important thing is that the operation set or get are transactional, which means that these paths, at least, or actually all of them, need to exist in order for the operation to return success. So if one of these paths does not exist, the operation just says, sorry, this path does not exist, and fails with an error, even if all the other paths will. Sure.
How does this work? Say, for example, if I have OBS running from this on a machine and I have GNMI, how do they interface? I mean, that's something that I couldn't really understand.
Well, because OBS is not really a platform, right? You'd probably be dealing with the platform that holds OBS.
I can actually imagine if OBS supports a gRPC target protocol, we could actually use GNMI to configure, say, the OpenFlow controller at OS, whether using SSL or not.
So does that mean that it has to be embedded and it not be just right next to it in terms of as a service?
Sure.
With backend plugins, say for whatever it is that it says, okay, hey, here is a target, one is an OBS target, and you attach it however it is to attach it.
Sure, it's possible. Somebody codes it. You know, if there's something that needs to be configured, monitored with telemetry, somebody can do it.
Yeah, imagine, so right now your way of interacting with OBS is probably OBS control command line, right?
Correct.
With this, we could have a standard RPC way to talk to OBS to set up the basic things. How do you connect the controller? How do you monitor it?
Yeah, because that I think would be very useful.
Yeah.
The reason as to why I asked this question is that I couldn't really, I mean, with the documentation, nothing, no blaming or anything like that. But with the documentation, I couldn't really understand the kind of handshake as to where these things would actually interact and how they would actually interact.
So Jerry's going to do an example network device that happens to have OVS and some other things on it.
Oh,
an agent on there that shows how it all works together. Cool. It might be coming.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the question. So we've seen the get example. How does the GNMI set work? The GNMI set has three things, three different things that you can ask repeatedly. You can ask multiple repeats, multiple replaces, and multiple updates. GNMI set is also transactional, which means that the aggregate of all those operations that you were asking, they all need to be successful at the same time. If you need to merge the results of those operations, the way you do it is you first do all the deletes, then do all the replaces, and then do all the replaces. There on the right side, there's also an example of how to use this reference implementation that is in GitHub to do a set using, in this case, JSON, just pure JSON. So you say update and then slash, which is basically the roots, and then with the I don't know the name of that variable, you call the set JSON. The set JSON just has the structure in JSON for actually two variables that you're setting to 15 and 12. So there's two things that you might have not noticed before. There's the backoff interval, for example, that shows under state and config. And trying here stating, but if GNMI operations are transactional, why do we have state and config? Well, the reason is because we're using OpenConfig. And OpenConfig at the time had to consider systems that are asynchronous. So where you do a set, but you would not get the result immediately that set would have been successful. So that system would need to go proactively check the state to see if it would have been set successfully. So this is a remnant of OpenConfig. In our case, because it is transactional, the state should always be equal to config. So the encoding, we can encode values I showed you before in this example here. You have multiple values encoded in a tree. In this case, they're encoded in JSON. You can encode these values in multiple ways. JSON was the one I showed. It's okay to use, but we should really focus on using the ITF one. Why? Because ITF made this one specifically for your models. Certificates. So as I mentioned before, GNMI sessions are authenticated and encrypted, and they all must use a certificate. The client authenticates the target, including validating the hostname. This is important, and the target authenticates the client. So between the client and the target, you will see these artifacts inside. So the client private key on the client certificate signed by a CA, and the CA certificate. On the target, the same thing, but for the target. Credentials. You can pass credentials as keys, username, password in the metadata of gRPC, because gRPC uses HTTP version 2, so it has metadata. Because gRPC is encrypted after the certificate session is encrypted, so you can pass those values without any problem. The reason is, the question is, we really need those, we need to use username and passwords and role-based access control. Because the whole point of GNMI is to extract the user from interacting with the platform, and username and password is an artifact of humans interacting with the platform. So if you want to do role-based access control, I suggest you do it upstream from GNMI and not between the platform and GNMI. So feel free to implement it, but please don't force it as a requirement. Subscribe. So subscribe, as I mentioned before, this is the string keyword here, which means that whenever you're subscribing to a set of paths, like I explained before, you can also mention which sorts of mode you want to subscribe on. So let's say that you want to subscribe to some counters in some place, some variables in some other place. You define all those paths in your requests, and you say, I want to subscribe this with the mode string. What's going to happen is that whenever those values and those properties update, they will send an update. So the target will proactively send an update to the client with the values that got updated. So it's very efficient because you only have traffic whenever the value actually changes. So if you define the mode once, you basically call the subscribe method with all the paths that you want. You get all the values that you asked for, and the session will just go down, because this is what you asked to do. If you use get subscribe with a poll message, so the poll mode, you get one update for all the values that you subscribe to, and then whenever you send a poll message, an empty poll message to the stream that you opened, you get all the requests, all the paths, values, and the parameters that you subscribe to, and you want to go. So it gives you a little bit of extra versatility, and that stream gives you high efficiency in getting data from targets to the client without having to scrub it all the time.
What's the reason for having it once when we have a gRPC?
Good question. It's a very good question, and I don't know. We need to ask the guys that created GNMI.
Yeah.
What I've seen, is that they just don't implement get at all. They just do gRPC once with it. Okay, so capabilities is the first RPC that I mentioned before. And this one is just stretching the capabilities of the target. So every target is supposed to have defined models and defined encodings that support. And this is the RPC that tells the client, hey, I support these models with these versions, and I support these encodings, and by the way, my GNMI version implementation is blah. So this one is typically also very useful. So some work in progress in the domain of OpenConfig. The OpenFlow model needs to have the controller IP address changed to a name instead of just an IP address. And we should be able to assign certificates to OpenFlow channels. So this will get later in the models. So I'll give a heads up for that. Other work that is also happening is refining the max models and deploying models. Typically, there is a discussion within the OpenConfig domain, so all operators that are working in OpenConfig. In this case, I'm planning to ask for the vendors to LGTM the models that are here before being published. Okay, so we use GNMI to configure the platform, configure various paths and variables and properties of the platform. But what we need to configure GNMI? So this is a question that is important because if you want to do auto-provisioning, you need to be able to bring GNMI up. Right? So let's check what we need. We need an IP address in the admin interface, and for that, you can just add DHCP. We need to know which port the service needs to be on. One option is to use DHCP option. And the other thing that we need is to have the certificates for GNMI, because GNMI cannot work without certificates. And for that, you can use GNMI. So GNMI is a special case of GNMI, sorry. So GNMI is gRPC, Network Operations Interface. So this is things that we use to typically operate the network more in the sense of rotating certificates, installing certificates, revoking certificates, other specific situations like setting the package or the operating system, rebooting. So stuff that does not need to be defined by OpenConfig models that are just common to most platforms. So GNMI defines a series of these services. These are the ones that I consider most important. There's other services, but these ones are the ones I think are more meaningful. And the service for certificate management is a service that we could use to provision the platform with certificates to get GNMI working. Okay. By the way, none of these RPCs uses OpenConfig. This is a pure RPC where you pass a property, you receive a property, that's it. There's nothing more to it. So let's say that we have a platform, it's unprovisioned, it comes at factory defaults, and you want to have it provisioned. So what do? You pick on the platform, bracket, plug the cable, it's in factory defaults, plug the power, and your admin interface should at that point be begging for an IP address, for which the DHCP server will provide an IP address, and together with that IP address, and also provides an option to define, hey, this is the service where you want to have, this is the port where you want to have your service running, your GNMI service running. And once the platform gets that information from DHCP, can then bring an insecure GNMI interface for certificate management. And the reason why we can accept this interface for certificate management to be insecure is because we're assuming that we're doing provisioning. Provisioning typically happens in a secure environment. Okay? So once we have this insecure GNMI service certificate management, we have all the notion to provision the platform with certificates. We do that by using the previous RPCs that we defined. And once that happens, once the service realizes, hey, I have certificates, it should restart the service with GNMI and GNY in a secure mode using those certificates that were provisioned. And that's it. We have a platform that has GNMI working, it can have GNMI working, and it's operational, ready to be provisioned, ready to be configured, ready to be operated. So this is the end goal. This is where we should be aiming to get to deploy 1,000 platforms if we need to. So what's next? Jerry and Moran are going to come here and provide you an example of an access point that is using the GNMI. After that, I'm not quite sure if before or after lunch, we should go back into the funny room there and play the reference implementation of GNMI against your platforms. I'm curious to see what we do. As you've noticed, there is no tests in those in GNMI Docker reference. So there's executables, there's binaries that we get set the capabilities. So if you could show us how those work with the platforms, we will all be happy. The end goal is that we all align in one implementation, or in our common understanding of what that implementation should be, and that we'll be able to talk with all the platforms, or all platforms. Okay? Any questions? Okay.
I had a couple questions. One was, you said that the operations are transactional. And so the server, in some way, ensures that these requests that it's getting are transactional. I'm assuming, first of all, that means just the RPCs, not the stream activity.
In this case, I'm talking about the gets and the sets.
Right, okay. So, you know, I'm not that familiar with OpenConfig, but is there some generic infrastructure that ensures that things are transactional, that people are putting behind this, or are they expected to dream up their own transactional solution?
This is purely in the server implementation, right?
Right.
If the server is being asked to do something, and in one go, and that's something the server realizes, I cannot do this all in one go because I cannot do this in here. Yes, it's just going to reply, sorry, no, this is the error, I'm going to refuse this type.
Okay, so when you say transactional, do you mean atomic? Or are you truly talking about ACID transactional like in databases?
Talking about the simple transaction between the client and the server on that specific operation where I can have multiple things being asked. And I want that single request that has multiple things being asked, I want that single request to be transactional. So if one of those things that is being asked does not work, tell me why not and refuse.
Okay. Because full transactional semantics is pretty tricky.
Yes.
Okay, so
that's important.
Because, like in that case you were just talking about, I'll shut up in a second. If you make a request to do something atomic, and the system goes down halfway through, let's say there's 10 steps in it. You do 5 and you don't do 5. It goes down in the middle. You as the client, you have no idea what happened. So if what you're doing has any kind of side effect, you're dead at that point, right? Because you don't know whether you can repeat it or not repeat it.
Well, in that specific situation, depending on the server implementation, the server should not apply all those operations if it does not know that they're not going to be successful. So there should be a testing implementation that says, okay, this is all good, implement, apply.
So we don't have to solve the general case of the database. It's like typically the actual how you use it to say like, oh, I've got a Wi-Fi AP and I'm provisioning this ID and my IP address. One of those things didn't work. So okay, go back and do that again.
Okay, so that means you've got to do at least some form of specialized logging because you can't be making the changes. You've got to journal all of the changes before you start making them.
We would actually do not need to do journaling. So I would say like either I'm going to set my IP address on something and it didn't work. There's no, you don't need to call that back there.
Okay, well, so I'll shut up, but that, on that issue there. I had another question, but I'll let others know.
So I appreciate the sort of hello world plan that you have mapped out. As in when we go next door and you know, vendors are poking at GNMI car heads with the tools and looking at what that use get pretend and that sort of stuff. And I know this may be jumping the gun, but in this room we have vendors and we have operators that may be interested in actually deploying this. So my question is kind of at risk of sounding a bit like a vendor, is when do we plan to have a conversation about the roadmap? Like, to me, one of the things that needs to be discussed is is there some common agreement on which open config models are required to be able to use GNMI in production on hardware? And I'm betting developers on the Faucet side are interested in knowing answers to the same questions to be able to say, okay, let's begin building some code to have something inside Faucet or sitting next to Faucet that may be something like zero-touch provisioning, or may provide some interfaces to things that are outside of OpenFlow.
Right. So with GNMI, at this point, I just wanted us to hold our understanding of this implementation.
Mm-hmm.
In the domain of Faucet, most likely the only required model is going to be the info model. We've asked that one to be implemented by various vendors. I think most of them should have it. And then from there on, it depends really on the business that you're dealing with, right? So if I'm going to web for enterprise or I'll have different platforms, I'll probably select the models that are more convenient for me. So that depends on the industry that you're in.
So this is why we don't need to see it solve the general case, because typically, like once you break this thing and give it an IP, like you may change the IP occasionally, like very occasionally. There's no need to journal or roll it back or do anything in there. It's so like once you may want to come by and rotate credentials on something, or roll a certificate on something. But again, like you either get us new certificates, new certificate is good, or like no one didn't. So it's like there's quite a limited scope. So we do need to define that. This is an important request that has to be done. But we don't mention that because most of the packet switching, the functionality of the controller, the device itself doesn't actually have that much state.
So would there be interest among people interested in deploying Faucet to have maybe, I don't know, a working group to say, these are the other things that we in practice would need to be able to operate a network using Faucet that are outside of the scope of OpenFlow and outside of the functional requirements of Faucet to say, well, I really care about fan speeds, and the next guy really cares about transceiver parameters. And so maybe we all get together and say, 90% of people want fan speeds and transceiver parameters, so let's speak to vendors about all supporting those.
Sounds extremely reasonable. Because I know a lot of those will be getting things as opposed to setting things. But also actually for wireless is another one where you might go, well, the universe of things is going to change, and you want to change this idea.
Yeah,
definitely. And you want to there'll be some various radio normal things you don't want to see it. But again, not necessarily transactional. Set the dial to 5, get it to work, do it again.
Yeah.
By the way, OpenConfig already has a series of models there.
Yeah.
They probably have some that address, for example, the fan speed. They have a lot of people working with OpenConfig, but they're mostly operators. So it's very easy for us to just tag along, subscribe, and be part of the decisions and drive the models that we want.
Okay. Very sensible answers, thank you.
I'll just go back there and then back here.
So I see that there's transactional gets, there's transactional sets. Is there a provision to do a transactional read modify write?
Transactional what, sorry?
A transactional read modify write where you can be sure that the state hasn't changed from the read to the write.
Oh, so for this, to our colleagues in OpenConfig, they're trying to do, this is a little bit confusing thing about the spec. So the OpenConfig spec is much wider than what we're using before. And it was originally written this idea of like you're using OpenConfig to configure a traditional router. So you want to make complex changes to the BGP routing policy or something. It is very important to go, like you failed to ninja 7 ACL probably and put it back, kind of the same one. So this is just not functionality that we plan on using. We don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
So I guess we could come back there. Like if it turns out that we'd actually need to have like a whole bunch of stuff with complex dependencies that are has to stand and fall together, that we might need that, but we don't think we need.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'll get back to you. I'm curious about to say.
So in general, there's been a lot of toing and froing about how to automate certificate management over the network. And I know, I mean, it seems like here in this GNMI case, you're trying to do something very simple about it. There's a bunch of existing certificate management protocols out in the world at the moment too. So, and they have some relatively tricky security aspects to them in terms of how it's done so that people don't take over your devices through them and so forth. So how are you deciding what kind of certificate management you're going to be doing in order to propagate these certificates? Because people right now, primarily, they still do it by hand a lot of the time, simply because they don't have an automated mechanism they actually trust.
Well, the condition is the same. It's, when we're doing this, when we have this interface, when we have this interface here, which provides the insecure certificate management to the device to be configured, we're assuming that we're in a secure provision environment. And that can mean a lot of things, right? Depending on your business, where you're living, where the platform is, but that's the assumption. It needs to be a secure environment. Either if it's back-to-back cable, doesn't matter, but that's the assumption. And with this certificate management service there, you have enough benefits to provision the platform that certificates you want.
Yeah, I think that answers the question.
Well, probably also really extent, this would be a good working group thing to say. So, you know, Google has its own internal infrastructure to manage certificates, but it would be nice if there was a practical working group that had, you know, like how do we operate using Faucet specifically? Like, what's the best practice for that? It would be good to agree on that. So that would be another thing.
Or users and passwords. Is that way in the initial secure GMI connection to configure users? So when we use GMI,
sorry, can you speak louder?
for users and passwords. Right now, is there a way to configure in GNI a new user and password to be used later with GNI?
No. So the primitives to the RPCs that exist to configure passwords is by using open config models, user and passwords. In GNY, we don't have one that does password configuration, just certificate installation, file management, and then the system which has the bunch of things related with the platform, rebooting, stuff, and so on.
So you need to know the default usernames for the new targets that you're installing your network.
Where would you use those usernames?
For the GNMI transactions, they all need to be authenticated with username and password immediately.
They don't need to. Maybe I should say it again. Credentials, right? So this is credentials. So certificates should be enough to have that connection between the client and targets authenticated and encrypted. There is no need to have a username password to validate the specific command or set or get should be done. You can do that, but you should do it upstream from GNMI in your platform, because username password is typically a thing that is used by humans, and this is not going to be human that is going to deal with your platform area. So that's the idea, is that you have your meta components, you have a system that does provisioning, turnups, and whatnot, and you have a trigger from upstream, which is can be a push or green, or somebody flips a note, I want to have this operating system in all switches, and this management system takes care of doing that in all platforms. This management system is already, well, it's certified to do this because it has a certificate from all devices, and all devices will accept this command. I mean, the set of commands. So that's the idea. The usage for username and password, there's no machine for it anymore for implementing having this sort of connection with the platform.
maybe a kind of a stupid question, is it necessary to specify the sort of certificate validation behavior on the target within GNOI, or is that not a problem to solve?
Yes, I mean, once you're using certificates and you have this interface, you should manage the certificates that you have installed. The rotation, the location, according to your policies, automatically. Right? It should be processed at this point, not somebody that goes there.
It's a little bit tricky because certificates are installed by somebody. Platform is owned by somebody else. Okay. So what I mean to say is that the operating system or the platform, call it OBS, for example. Okay. If you have OBS and if I'm installing certificates, I'm Joe somebody. Okay. And I am installing certificates. So the validation needs to be done by OBS or the corresponding GNMI target infrastructure. Okay, whoever is providing that infrastructure is the one who needs to validate. I don't know whether they have network access for doing CRLs, whether they want to do OCSP. That's another can of worms.
So I don't know exactly what needs to be validated. Can you explain what needs to be validated? Or maybe you can take it out.
How do you validate the certificate? How do you make sure that the certificate is not revoked? For example.
I see.
Okay, so those kinds of things. So you have OCSP, you have CRL, you have Penta CRL.
But these are the RPCs that allow us to do this. Once you have access, then you can do this.
They just get us and set up. That's it.
Any more questions?
So, going along with this validation question, so I think what you're saying is that the server will have some set of certificates that it will accept. How is that managed?
So, yeah, I guess we don't define that. Right?
This is not part of the GNOI protocol. So the idea is that these are just the interfaces that allow to do that management. And you have these RPCs that allow to do this. If there is a system outside of it, as there is a system that brings devices up, as there is a system that configures the devices, as there is a system that does telemetry, collectors. So all these systems will do this, but using these interfaces.
Right? Just the same reason that the patching actually had 100 PKI.
No, but I think Mark was I think if I understood you correctly, Mark, what you're really saying was, how do I know that the system supports, for example, ECDSA certificate versus RSS certificate?
Yeah, so there, I mean, there's a certificate, the CA, the set of CAs that you support, potentially the common certificate, common names for certificates from those CAs that you might support.
So there are many best practice things. Yeah,
right.
But they're above. This is fairly low level.
Right. But you know, that's more up at the TLS layer. Same for OCSP stamping or whatever was done and all that other kind of thing. Right. And so you're not saying anything about what that should be. That's for somebody else.
Well, so I mean, I think at this stage, so like we're at Hello World, right? So before we, because as you're rightly observing, this is a huge area with lots of precedent and everything else. But before we can even get to that world, we've got to be able to exchange the certificate. Right. So I think this is what we're trying to tackle first.
Sure.
And that was my gun jumping, was to say, Hello World is nice. I'm thinking, wouldn't it be nice to have a reference implementation that's a Docker container that we can deploy, that like now we can create certificates and now we can do zero-touch provisioning and everyone can actually use this thing. And yes, that is.
We want to regularly keep us Hello World. Yes.
Okay, any more questions? No? And Jerry? Yes. Your turn.
is my colleague Colin. So we are going to talk about Link22 and Open Wireless AP based on DMI. So as Sam mentioned, this is actually a implementation that uses DMI protocol and open config modules to show how the whole pipeline works. And I'm actually going to keep my slides this week because I'm going to give you some maybe boring details about how it's implemented, and I'll click through some GitHub links to show you some source codes. That's what I'm planning to do. Stop me if I'm too boring, and what I'm going to show you the actual running things. A little bit background about the product. So PlugFest started a prototype of a open Wi-Fi model in early 2017. Since that time, there are quite some developments for both DMI protocol for the RPC implementation and for the open config models. And in the middle of this year, we actually found that it is at a time where we can put all the pieces together and write some software using the libraries to implement something to show how DMI works. And that is how the Link22 product comes through. So the key points that we're trying to demonstrate using this implementation is we're going to use DMI implementation in the Go language, and we're going to use the published open config models for Wi-Fi, including the physical layer, the MAC layer, and the system layer, to configure certain parameters related with a Wi-Fi access point. In this model, we are also trying to demonstrate a typical enterprise use case to show an open SSID and a equal 1x based authentication SSID. Here's the kind of architecture we have in mind when we were trying to write this. The Link22 unit is the actual AP we're going to implement that. But in order for the AP to work, we need to have other pieces. But inside the AP, we have what we call the Oh yes, let me do that. So when I need to show the code, I'm going to just yeah. That's better. Yeah, cool. Okay, so yes. So inside that particular AP, we have DMI targets. That is, in software's term, it's basically a server, the RPC server. But I was talking with Mark, and I realized all these technologies are not new at all. Sun actually has a RPC technology like 20 years ago, before I even know what a computer is. But it's still there because it's good technology. It works across platforms. It can support multiple languages, and especially the RPC is being supported by a whole community, and it has language support for Go, for C++, for Python, and a lot of other things. So what's run inside is really basically just a RPC server, and we have a huge community that supports the library to translate what we call a protocol buffer definition into the gRPC style implementations, and I'm going to actually fix some of the code there. So the gRPC target will implement the DMI protocol. That's a normal gRPC implementation. And the other two components are AP related. So we manage the interfaces on that small box. For our case, it's just for live, but it can be any Linux box. Another component is a FAUCET implementation. It basically manages the 802.1x authentication, manages the physical and MAC layer communication. So in that box, we expect it to have at least two interfaces, one wired and one wireless interface. And the other side is the service that we need to have this AP to actually we need to have the GMI plant, which is a gRPC plant, and GNOI plant, which is, as Sam talked about, is the plant that do the provision part for GNMI, including certificates, including the HTTP analysis. And we also have a media server that will handle the authentication parts. And on the left, that is actually some even upper layer architecture that enterprises or companies may have in their infrastructure already, such as how do I manage my IP address allocation? How do I consume the monitoring data once I get them? And how do I make sure the IPs don't stack the foot onto each other? How do I make sure the heat map works well? So those are not the scope of the actual implementation, but GMI provides very good interface for you to integrate those infrastructure with what we have. Because if they also talk with each other using the RPC, then you can have a pretty smooth implementation for that. So with that, I'm going to actually dive into a little bit detail about each component. So GMI is going to be used for the baseline provision, GNOI. And for our case, it's going to do the certificates provision and software installation and update. After that, we are going to handle the GNMI first. And there were two main categories for the GNMI operation. One is basic configuration, the other one is monitoring. So in the world of operations for that ops, monitoring is a really important component. In the world of GMI, we use this software RPC to do the telemetry data. There are other RPCs, but typically subscribe is what people normally post. And between the class and target, there is the agreed open config model that is being used to carry the data between each other. I can actually show you the RPCs that were used to config the. Can you? Let's see this. If this is better. It's better. This is actually what Sam was showing you just now, but I just linked you to the exact location inside the GitHub where this is actually defined. So if you write your code, and this is the place where this is being maintained by the maintainer of the repo. So this is the fact RPC command is probably the most commonly used command for you to configure a address, a target address, and what you need to do is to put in a RPC request and it gets a response. I'm going to show you some examples of doing that later on. Telemetry is similar to the subset command. Is basically the other way around, where you transfer data from the device into the access controller. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the target side. So in GNMI, target is actually the location where the gRPC server resides. That's kind of not very intuitive because target is actually a device. But in GNMI's model, target is where the server relies. That's actually good because you want the server to be running all the time, right? But the plant can come and go. So you could have one plant doing the configuration and the other plant doing the monitoring. And on the server side, I actually put some code snippets here. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just like you write any RPC server. Sorry. Thank you. Yes. So the language is Go, but gRPC actually support other languages. So the constructor basically takes a model. The model is what is being defined by the open config. So an open config has to be translated into your language implementation. In our case, we have a generator. It's called whitebot to generate the open config YAM model into language bindings. In this case, it's Go, and then you can pass that here. So it is being agreed upon by both the target and the client side. And the model defines the open config structure. I can actually show you the here. The structure, I'm not going to put that. So for model, this is basically what it has. And it takes both the schema and the active data. And I'm going to show you the active config in another slide. And here is what we use for the link 22 on the server side. So we have a new function called new server. We call the whitebox library and create a new model based on our schema. And the server takes a model and also some initial configuration. If you have some defaults you want to set for the server, then you can get it. So on the client side, it's actually much easier. Sorry, I need to automate that, so I don't have to. So we have some tools to do that in the Git repo. Typically, client side, in order for you to configure something, you need to have your intent. That intent can be generated by people, by human being, or by another kind of infrastructure pipeline. So you're a big company, you don't want to allocate IP addresses by people, right? You may have such an IP address management system. So you could plug in those infrastructure people. What I'm going to show you here is actually an example of the intent to config. So we are using the IRB JSON format, the keep JSON, and different fields. So the library can deserialize this and validate it, and then it will be sent through the gRPC problem. Some deep dive of the GMI code generation. So this is actually how we translate the possible buffer definition, which is the native language where gRPC is being defined. Using a tool called FAUCETcon, that's a general tool to translate possible buffer definitions into language binding code. In this case, it's Go. If you write in C++, if you write in Python, you have words for those. This actually shows the actual GMI possible definition. I think we just saw this set amount. It's pretty concise. It's about 400-300 lines of code. And then we run this generator. So it's probably generating into thousands of lines of code. So when talk about networking, I often have people asking me, "Oh, are you guys applying any machine learning or AI or artificial intelligence, those kind of fancy things?" I was always hard to say, but actually I didn't realize that we are trying to automate a lot of development work. Instead of people writing code, many of those things are right now being done by programs themselves. And GMI, gRPC, those are examples for those. So what we have to deal with in this case is only the possible buffer definition and the higher level RPC calls instead of writing our own code to do our own findings. Next is open config. So we talked about when we try to set up a target, we have to have a model. Now, how we generate that model? That model is, again, something that higher level thing that cannot be done using AI or machine learning. It has to be written by people because it's very important, but it's pretty consensus. What we see here is actually the higher top level open model for this instance to Wi-Fi. About 100 lines of code, and at the top it imports the common modules that every vendor or most vendors agree upon. So it includes physical layer, the map layer, common tabs, and the body. Then in our programming model, what we do is, so I have some other things to show the physical layer, map, and system models. Those are common outputs, and I'm going to skip them.
Sorry, just thinking it's probably worth mentioning. So the OpenConfig has the concept of like paths. So if for some reason you had something especially magical that's especially platform specific, that you're going to port privately, then you can do that, right? So you're not restricted to everything that's in an existing OpenConfig model. You could in theory provide like a private path to something.
That's true. Yeah, very good efficient. Thanks, Josh. So this part actually shows how we translate the YARN model into something that we can use in our host. What we have here is, this is a YARN model. We just solve for the different view. And again, you use some automatic generator. Then you have a generated flow code that you can use and talk. And this is huge. And it's even actually compressed in the middle because there are too many lines of code. I think what I'm trying to show is that once this model is defined, it is actually pretty straightforward for developers to try to implement this on both the client side and the target side. So put all these things together, what we need is both the target side and client side implementation for the RC. We need a model, and for most cases, it's already there. It's being published by Google and other companies that are working together. And we have this kind of services. Most of them are existing, DHCP server, DDS server. And what's new here is the blue box. We have the telemetry. Mostly streaming telemetry is based on real time. And then we can have a good configuration and monitoring infrastructure to support the various access points in this case for enterprise use case. So next, we're to actually show our demo. Ready? Right. If you have any questions, please hold on and drop the demo. We can talk more, or you can come here to see our demo, please.
Hi, I'm Bole, and I'm going to show a demo to demonstrate how also the basic use case for the Link22 and the GNMI. So let me first go through the server very quickly. So here we have two Raspberry Pi devices. The one on the left, which is this one, is for the Link22 AP, and this is act as an AP, real AP devices. And on the right side, we have another AP called for the gateway, and that one provides some network infrastructure services like DHCP and radius, and we also have the GMI client running on site. Okay, so for the Link22 AP demo, we are going to broadcast two WLANs. one for the gas network, one for authentic network. So gas network is open, and the authentic network have radius on the backend. And the traffic will go to the WLAN interface on that AP, and before to the Ethernet interface, and goes to the gateway through the Ethernet cable, and eventually forward to the WLAN interface on the gateway side and go to Ethernet. So actually, you guys can connect to that network and show actually works. And on the LinkedIn side, we have the GNMI target running, and on the gateway side, we have the client running. So for this demo, I will manage do all the operations on the client side and use that client to manage the AP devices through the GNMI. Okay. So here I have two SSH sessions. So the session in above connect to the gateway, and the session below connect to the AP. So currently there's nothing running on the AP, so AP is not actually AP, it's still Raspberry Pi. So to start the command, I have some command here. First, we need to make sure which WLAN interface we want to use. So this AP has two WLAN. So since we want to broadcast two WLANs on the AP, so we have to select the one which supports that kind. So the WLAN will support that. And this is the command we'll use to start the AP agent, which contains the GNMI target. So you have to specify the certificates and the WLAN interface we want to use to broadcast the radio signal, and what port we want to use for the GNMI service. Okay, so it starts, and you can see it's running on the WLAN1 and with the Ethernet interface on the Ethernet. And since there are no using conversion on this device, so there's no signal or radio being broadcasted. So let me verify that through. Let me verify that through the Mac internal tool. So we don't have any WLAN with the LinkedIn tool inside. Okay, so in the demo I have three commands prepared. The first thing I want to do is I want to push the whole configuration to the AP device. So that will converting this Raspberry Pi to an actual working AP. And to do that, I will use the GNMI set operation and with the replace mode. Let me copy the command. Okay. So same thing here on the client side, the certificate is also required, and we also need to specify what's the target IP address and the port number we want to use. And in the replace operation, we need to specify the path of the open config model. Since now I want to replace everything, I will specify the root path. And the content of that config is in a file called apconfig.json. So I don't show the detail here. It's online. You guys can check later. And once I click, so this client will generate a set request message and send to the AP side. Actually, you see the AP actually received the message. So that's the model we send to the AP. So Jerry just showed that in the previous presentation. And once they receive, the backend AP service will read that open config model and configure all the infrastructure on the AP device, like link to all these network interfaces. And it will also configure the host AP to broadcast the radio signals.
So maybe two things are important here. So one is it's a GNMI thing. So so for GNOI, you skip the step where you do the original provisioning.
Yeah.
So we concentrate on just that part. But the other part is like you notice you use the replace command. So again, to avoid the issue around transactions, you're saying I'm just replacing the entire config, the entire thing at once. And if that didn't work for some reason, then you've fix the error, just do it again.
Yeah. So now if we look at the network, we shall see two networks inside. So one is the off network, which is using the RPA2 authentication, and another one is the gas network, which is open, so that can connect directly. There's one more thing here. So you guys can try to connect these networks. It should have internet access directly. You guys can try the guest, or you can either use the password, which is online, so you can check later. So as you guys can see, both channels is in channel 8, and I just show the set of the entire configuration, but in the runtime, maybe you don't want to replace everything. You don't want to change a single property inside the AP. So the GNMI have support for that. That's the second command I want to show, which is update. So in this case, I will try to change the channel of the radio. And that will only change one single value in the open config model. And that's why I choose the update command. So the command is very similar to the previous one because they are both set commands. And the only difference is currently I use the update operation, and I specify the path to the channel, and the value of the channel I choose 6 right now. So it will same thing. It will generate the set command, and the set request will receive on the pi side, and the DC is reconfigured. So this time the Pi agent on the backend will receive the updated model, and it will figure out there's no infrastructure change, there's VLAN doesn't change. So it will not modify the infrastructure on the Pi, only reconfigure the whole APD configuration. And let's check the new channel. So you guys can see it's on the channel 6 right now. So this is just very basic use case, and actually you can use the GNMI to manage any branch or any leaf of the open config model on the AP. And on the AP side, the backend agent will read the updated model and do the corresponding change and make the configuration on the AP side. So that's for the stat command. And what if I want to check what's actual configuration on the AP directly? So the third command I have right now is the get. So actually, you can use the GNMI to do the get and to correlate the value of the model on certain path. It can be it can be on the root, it can be on the branch, or it can be on the leaf. So for example here, I just correlate the channel value I just set. So it's reflect the real case view, or just configure the model and you want to check its accurate reflection. So same thing here. I use the GNMI get client and specify certificate and specify the target address and port. And the additional thing here, I need to specify the path to the model I want to achieve. So here is generate a GNMI get request and get a GNMI get response. And if in the response, you specify the path you just forward and the value you have here. So that's the way you can query that. And the GNMI also have the other commands like the capacity, and you can also insert model, you can also delete model. So that thing is also here. I don't show it in the demo due to the time limit. So everything I showed today for the LinkedIn and the GNMI is already open source and it's in the GitHub. So you guys can go to the GitHub. It's /Google/LinkedIn and /Google/GMSI. And all the source code, including what I showed today in demo, is there. You guys can try offline, of course. And we have a station here, so if you guys have any detail and want to see more like advanced use case, you guys can, we can help offline. Thanks. So any questions?
Yes.
This office Wi-Fi model, Wi-Fi office model to describe a Wi-Fi installation in a building. Can you talk about the use case around that model?
Yeah, that's Wi-Fi office JSON file, right? It's the top layer open config model we use. So typically that should be part of the open config. I think that's still under discussion whether open config standard will provide something on top layer that you want to use for the whole model. But the good thing is open config or GMI is pretty flexible in terms of whether you want to replace the whole tree from top to bottom for every leaf, or you want to pick a subtree that you want to manipulate, set or rate. So even without that, it is still okay. It's still workable for runners to start implementing that.
So maybe one more question that maybe answers just yes. But I noticed that you're importing open config modules for components that exist within the AP. Is there no agreed open config model for an AP itself?
That's right. We don't have a top level model for AP yet.
Okay.
So we just like started with one, so like let's try and make an AP. My official price, my first AP.
And this model is only for Ubuntu right now, so we just go to that.
And then a comment, I definitely think that somebody should advocate for the deployment of this technology at NATO offices.
Someone else gets the in-joke. It's good.
Yeah, that's where the name came from.
So I think I noticed you were using some Yang support packages for Go in your implementation. Is there anything that integrates those in with gRPC structures, messages, or anything? How are you filling the gap between gRPC and Yang?
Yeah, so Yang exists as a payload or the model language for gRPC. gRPC is the transport layer. Go actually provides good support for both of them. So what's the GNMI or GNXI reference implementation that Sam talked about is actually the kind of guide feeder for the two pages. As we can see, when you try to create a gRPC server that supports open config model, you need to plug in two things. Basically, one is the gRPC protocol definition. The other one is what goes inside that transport layer, which is a open config model. The code is pretty new. There are maybe still bugs or features that needs to be built in, but I think we have the framework there. Some feature I think we were talking about with the compiler folks yesterday was like OpenConfig has default values, right? So you can say whether this AP wants to scan the radio space or not scanning. So the default value says true, but the library right now doesn't have a good way to expose that. So when you do not specify the scanning field, the Go library will return nil or none for you. So you don't know whether they didn't specify or they want to use the default value or not. So these kind of things are still being blacked out. So please open box on GitHub. Please join the discussion.
Sorry to interrupt you. So like just we have a It's an opportunity for a group photo. So for New Zealanders, it's not optional. All New Zealanders have to do that. But if you'd like to be an honorary New Zealander, you can be in the photo too. So that's just going to be right outside the building here, but we could continue the discussion. Just that the photographer's got limited time. So.
Right, yes. Please drop by afterwards, and we are here.